There are several reasons why you might want to replace the tuners on your Classic Vibe Telecaster. In this video guide, we'll focus on two primary reasons. First, tuner malfunction. The stock tuners can sometimes malfunction, making it difficult to tune accurately and consistently. Two, personal preference. You just don't like the tuners that are installed on the Classic Vibe. The Classic Vibe vintage style tuners are what I would refer to as a utilitarian type of tuner, meaning that they do the job at the most basic level. They're not bad, but they're also not great. I've experienced a few different malfunctions over the years. Bent tuner, I turn the tuner and the tuning shaft / post doesn't turn, and the tuner is just difficult to turn, and as a result, tuning accurately and consistently is kind of a challenge. Let's talk about the tuners that are installed in the Classic Vibe Telecaster. These are replicas of what is referred to as a vintage style or Kluson style tuners. Kluson were the standard tuners on many guitars, including the 1950s Telecasters. Kluson is a well-known brand of guitar tuners, but the name has become so synonymous with guitar tuners in general that it's often used to refer to any type of vintage-style guitar tuner, much like how Xerox is used to refer to any type of a copy machine. The Classic Vibe Telecaster comes with vintage-style or Kluson-style tuners. These tuners are replicas of those found on the 1950s Telecaster. They are characterized by a split tuning shaft and a bushing that fits into an 8mm hole in the headstock. It's actually 11/32 or 8.73 to 8.8 millimeters, but everyone refers to it as 8mm. 8mm is an important measurement to remember. For the most part, there are two different sizes of tuners. You'll find 8mm and 10mm tuners on the market for sale, and those fit a good portion of most of the guitars out there. There are others, but this covers the majority of, like I said, what's out there in guitars. A few other things to pay attention to are whether the tuners you're replacing are 6 inline tuners like most of the Fenders. This means 6 tuners in a straight line. The alternate to this is 3x3, which means 3 tuners on each side of the headstock. This is like a Gibson. There are so many different tuner options you could choose from. You could open up the 8mm bushing holes to 10mm using a hand reamer, so you can install a more modern tuner. But this would take a lot of elbow grease. For the sake of this video, let's stick with 8mm tuner options. The tuners that I'm going to look for today have precision gears, which ensures accurate and consistent tuning, smooth turning, which makes tuning easier, and a locking mechanism, eliminating the need for multiple string winds around the tuning post. Finding the right tuner. Using the StewMac website as a reference, I navigate to guitar plus solid peg head tuners. To quickly narrow down to what I need, I filter on 6 inline, excluding the 3x3 tuners. To make it easy, link to the StewMac website is at the top of this video description and also at the top of the video comments as well. And I've actually got a link that goes directly to this as well as already has the filters installed. Now, I look for right-handed tuners that require basically the 8.73 or 8mm size peg hole for the push and bushing. I choose about 6 different types of tuners and I go through the specs. They're all varying in price. Another note, staggered versus non-staggered tuners. Most tuners today on the market are not staggered. This means all of the tuners are the same height. Staggered tuners are designed with varying post heights to provide the correct string break angle over the knot, eliminating the need for string trees. It is believed that string trees can sometimes cause tuning issues due to friction. Staggered tuners are an alternative way of providing the string a close to correct angle from the nut to the tuner. For this video, I'm going to stick with non-staggered tuners. I like the look of the Gotoh vintage locking tuners. Gotoh is a really good maker of tuners and they sell them to Fender, and then Fender rebrands them as their own. The tuners I'm looking at have been installed in quite a few made in Japan Fender guitars that I have owned. My experience with them has been really good. They check all of the boxes for what I'm looking for. They have precision gears, a smoother turn when turning, and they're also locking tuners. But the really cool thing is they look like the vintage tuners. I find with the Gotoh locking tuners, and I purchase them. Installing the new tuners. Now that I have my Gotoh locking tuners, I'm going to install them. People ask me all the time why I pulled the neck off of the guitar. Here's my answer. I'm confident in doing this, and it makes it easier for me to work with the guitar neck or body while in the tight confines of my workbench. Remove the old tuners. I removed the low E tuner first. I wanted to see if the new tuner would fit in the old bushing. I found that it did fit, but the old bushing was too tall for the tuner. When I compared the bushings from the new tuners to what I came with the guitar, there was a difference in height. And for the tuners that I was installing to have enough clearance, I would need to swap out the bushings anyways. Remove the old bushings. I drive out the old bushing with a brass punch and a rubber mallet. I'm using a brass punch that is just a hair smaller in diameter than the tuner hole. Link to a brass punch and rubber mallet is at the top of this video description and the top of the video comments. Installing the new bushing. Some folks tap the bushings in with a punch and rubber hammer. I don't. I use a locking wrench C-clamp that I've made into kind of like an arbor press. An arbor press allows you to push something in slowly instead of hammering it into place. I put electrical tape over the two contact areas at the end of the wrench that make contact with the guitar so it doesn't damage the metal or wood that it touches. On the other side of the headstock, I've placed a large flat file, but you could use anything like this. And this is so when the other part of the wrench is pushing up against, it's not actually making a dent in the wood of the guitar. I do it because, like I said, it needs something hard to press against so it doesn't damage the wood. Link to the C-clamp is at the top of this video description and at the top of the video comments. When I tried to install the new bushing, I found that it's a little tight. If I forced the bushing, I could crack the headstock, and I've seen this happen. Let's talk about hand reamers. It's a handy tool to have when you're working on tuners. You can pick up a set on Amazon for about $12. I like a narrow taper on the hand reamer, so when I'm using it, I'm removing less material of the wood at a time that I'm using it. Link to a set of hand reamers that's at the top of this video description and at the top of the video comments. I use a reamer to remove a hair amount of wood material, so the bushing fits easily into the hole about half depth. It's important to remove only a little wood and then test, and do this repeatedly until you get the correct size hole. You don't want to over remove wood. You can't put it back. Once the bushing fits, I use the C-clamp arbor press to press the bushing into place. I repeat this series of steps for all 6 holes. Installing the new tuners. Once I have the bushings installed, now I insert the new tuners. It's important to read the instructions supplied with a new part. The tuners came with the following direction. Please note that 3 of the tuners have a green decal on the back of the machine. These 3 machines have a smaller diameter string hole and are to be used with the unwound G, B, and E strings. So my tuners didn't have the green decals, but this was important information. I could easily tell, however, by looking at the tuners which had the smaller string holes, so I put them in the correct positions. I used the original tuner screws when I installed the tuners. So, stringing up the new tuners. Stringing these new tuners is a little different than using non-locking tuners. I've broken this out into like 8 steps for these specifically. Step 1, loosen the locking string post with a screwdriver or a coin so the string can be inserted through the hole in the post. By turning the post clockwise, you're basically opening up the string hole and opening up the locking mechanism. Once the tuners are installed, you'll not need to perform this step again. When you basically pop the string off, it'll do this for you. Step 3 is turn the post clockwise until the string can be inserted into the hole. Step 4, insert the string. It should form a fairly straight line with your hand to the knot. Step 5, holding the string taut, tighten the tuner knob. Step 6, as you turn, at first nothing appears to be happening, but what is happening though is the locking mechanism is tightening on the string. Step 7, once the tuner is locked onto the string, the shaft will start to turn and take up any loose string. And then step 8, the string should not wind around the post more than a full turn with locking tuners. So that's it for the installation of the tuners. It is important to have the correct tools to do the job. The tools in this video are about $60 total. The next time you install tuners, you'll have the right tools for the job, and these tools can be used for many different things working on guitars. Tools that will not damage the guitar are tuners when installing. Upgrading to the go-to locking tuners or other reliable name brand tuners can significantly improve tuning stability and ease of use for your classic vibe Telecaster. I hope by following this guide and using the correct tools, you can successfully install your new tuners and enjoy the benefits of a more precise and reliable tuning system. The next video we're going to cover we're going to look for the correct bridge for a vintage style Fender bridge and saddles that are brass compensated saddles so we can upgrade the guitar.